Okay, so it's not really very exciting, but that was the step bearing, the factory Kawasaki one, which I couldn't get hold of. Got onto Clem Vintage, and they said, Harry Clem said, that basically you can use a standard 6306 bearing and machine out that plate to accept the bearing. So that's what this is. I've not mounted the bearing into the casing yet, but once it does, the retaining plate will bolt right down, and it's gonna hold the bearing in kind of on this lip, really, on the chamfer of the bearing. So we'll be all good. Happy days. So now we've got the crank bearing retaining plate made. I'm going to move on to getting the seals and the bearings replaced in both the cases. So literally the bearings, they're all pretty standard bearings. I've gone for, you know, the top spec ones. C3s where I could. These bearings I couldn't get C3s, but I've got a top quality Japanese bearing. So but yeah, they're all a standard size, so that's all good. So I'm going to take each case and do the bearings and the seals at the same time for that case. It's just the way that I like to work, really. Press a bearing out, press the new bearing in, and then move around that one side case until that's all done. Thing to note with this case is these are a rotary valve induction, and they would have had an oil injection. Now the oil injection stuff has all been blocked off, so this is just using premix. So there would have been an oil injection pump that would have run, which has been removed and blocked off. So that makes our job a little bit easier. But just need to be kind of aware that those things are there and make sure that they are sealed properly. So here, and then the oil comes through here, and then it would come through into behind the plate, which controls the oil injection, and then this is the rotary valve, and it's the rotary valve where the fuel, air and oil mix is passed through to the crankcase, to the crank at the bottom. So now we've got the bearings in this right hand side of the crankcase, which is the side which needs this retaining plate. We're going to put the plate in, and we're going to screw it back down. So it's a really good, close and tight fit. It's going to hold the bearing in there, and it's going to keep the crank away as it should do. So the only thing to note about this is I'm going to use Loctite on the screws. They have punched them to lock them in as well. I'm going to have a look at that when the screws are in. And then the other thing is it just goes in one way, so you've just got to make sure that this cutout area matches up with the inlet. So that's where the fuel charge comes in from the rotary valve, and that's all you need to be aware of. So there we go. Friday morning, fresh bearings, happy days, ready for the next part of the rebuild.